Hello, my bookish friends. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Elizabeth, and this is Reading Riley, where we like to read Riley, not take ourselves too seriously, and have some fun with books. And today we're doing something different, but also new. The same, but new. New for me, anyway. I've seen many people do this, and I've always wanted to try it, and it is a bookish taste test. I don't know who to credit for that name. I know a lot of people say taste test or booktube taste test, things of that nature. But I guess that's what I'm going to be calling it too. I don't know, but you know, you clicked on the thing. I've never actually tried this before, but I think it's a fun concept because when you follow a booktuber, you try to find somebody who has the same or similar taste as you do. That way, when they recommend a book, you have a better probability of actually liking that book if you pick it up and read it. So I've been following Ashley from Ashley's Little Library for a while. And she and I have very similar tastes. We both read a lot of thriller, we both read horror, and we both like some speculative type things. But she does have this kind of avenue of books that she reads that I've never tried or never had interest in that I'm gonna give it a try now. So this is my way to see if I enjoy that aspect of her recommendations as well. If you haven't heard of Ashley or you're not following her, I'll link her channel down below, obviously, but she's really great. So I guess I should tell you what books I'm gonna read. She was so sweet. I reached out to her and told her I was gonna do this. I had gone through some of her recommendation videos and tried to find some of the books that I hadn't already read. We have already read a lot of the same books, but I found some, picked some out that I was interested in reading of hers, and she actually, when I reached out to her, was like, oh no, you're not gonna like that book. She knows that I have specific triggers, not even like triggers, but trigger. And she's like, you won't like that one, try this one instead. So I was like, okay, so I really got like a personal recommendation from Ashley. So I'm really hoping that I love these books, but we're gonna find out together. The first book that I'm reading is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I think that's it, right? Not Evelyn Hugo, by Stuart Turton. This one I never picked up because from what I've heard from it, I've heard that it's good. It's got that little bit of speculative or fantasy kind of approach to a murder mystery. But from what I've heard, it's hard to keep up with. There's a lot going on. And basically you have one guy who wakes up in the body of several different people over a period of days, and he has to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. So I never picked it up because I've always heard that it was confusing and some people didn't really like it. And I've never read anything by Stuart Turton either. So that's the first one I'm reading. The next book that I'm going to pick up is one that I've really had no interest in, but Ashley loves this book. And so I feel like this one's the real taste test. Like the other two are kind of already up my alley, but this one's really not. And it is Magrations by McConaghy. This book I got from the library. Honestly, I really don't know what it's about, but I know it has to do with climate change. And it's not incredibly long. It's just about 250 pages, just under 250 pages. Let's see. Okay, all right, wow, okay. I'm really not sure of the genre of this book. Obviously it's about climate change, but the way this intro is reading has kind of like a thriller vibe to me. We're following Franny Stone. She is trying to track down this bird, this flock of Arctic terns, and track their final migration. And she convinces this captain to let her aboard their ship, I guess. But I guess she has some personal stuff going on. She has night terrors, and she has this pile of unsent letters. She's obsessed with the pursuit of these birds at any cost. She's running away from something or running towards something. Sounds like there's this like dark mystery about her character as well. So yeah, I have no idea what to expect for this book. It doesn't interest me off the bat. The climate change, the migratory pattern of these birds, like it's not something that I'm super interested in, but I hope that I love it. So we'll see. The last book that I'm gonna read, which I have already started, but I've only read like maybe 20 pages of this, and I've been wanting to finish for a while. Ashley loves this book as well. It's The Cabin at the End of the World by Tremblay. This one's gonna be perfect for October anyway. It's supposed to be a like survival, end of the world type book. I don't know what is a spoiler for this and what isn't, but I know something that keeps me interested, but I don't know. I think I've said it before on this channel even, but I don't know if I should keep saying it, because if I was spoiled by something like this, I'd be pissed. But we're following this little girl and her two fathers, and they are approached by a group of people. They're on vacation, I think in Canada or like northern US, I'm not sure. That group of people, I guess it's some kind of like cult. They think the world is ending, and they give them basically an impossible choice to make in order to quote unquote save the world. We don't know if it's actually a real thing or if these people are just a little out there and have been brainwashed by this cult. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm excited for this one. It's another relatively short book, 270 pages. Very excited to read this. So we've got these 3 books, and by the end of this, we'll see what we think. I don't know. I will say I have been reading 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle already. I'm about halfway through it. This one's a long one. I don't know how many pages it is, but the audiobook is like 17 hours or something. So I'm considering it a feat to already be halfway through this. I really like the narrator of this audiobook. It is a British narrator, and I can't figure out really what the time period is for this. They have like footsmen and not handmaids. What are they called? It's like, you know, in Downton Abbey where they have like their servants, and they have like the people that like are specifically their person, and then they have the people that are, I'm doing a really bad job of explaining this, but you get what I mean. So it gives me that like Regency England type feel, but I don't know really when it's supposed to be set. I'm kind of vacillating between extreme excitement and disinterest as of right now. There are some parts where I'm just like sloughing through it. Sloughing? Come here, Denny. You're being loud. Okay. All right, you can be in the video now, so you're not loud. So there's some parts where I'm just like having a really hard time getting through it, and other parts where I'm just very much interested and just like all about it. But we're following this dude, and like I said, he wakes up in a different person's body every day, but there's interesting rules where there are several people that are having to do this, but we're following his point of view, and he's the only one who is in the position that he's in because he supposedly volunteered to do this, but doesn't remember anything about himself or anything. I get why people say they're confused. I'm kind of just letting myself be comfortable in the confusion, and I think that's definitely the best way to go into this, because if you are frustrated that you don't know all the rules of the fantastical elements or the rules of the game, quote unquote, then that would be really frustrating. So I'm just kind of taking my time with it, just like sitting in it. I hope that it makes sense in the end. That's going to be the big determiner as to whether or not I like this. If it all is for a reason, I'm gonna enjoy it. If it's all kind of nonsense and has no real explanation at the end, then I'm gonna be upset. Especially after putting 17 hours into this audiobook. But anyway, that's where I'll stop from here. I just wanted to kind of get you guys in, get the recording going, let you know where I'm at before I get too far ahead where I have to like backtrack. So yeah, I'll catch up with you later. Okay, I've been just feeling like playing the song, so I'm gonna record it. And you know what? If Gabby can do it, so can I. And I also realized that in this moment I'm actually wearing the same shirt that Gabby wears in a lot of her videos. And I want to assure you that I'm pretty sure I owned it first. Like, I'm not a stalker. It's fine. I like Gabby Reads. I'm not her stalker. Please don't run off to her and tell her that I'm trying to be her. Because this is me. And this is why I relate to Gabby. Right, Denver? I don't know why I felt like I had to make that clear. I'm gonna play the song. I wrote it about 3 years ago. If you're not interested, I'll timestamp it down below, so just skip. It's about hanging on to a relationship for too long. It doesn't have to be a partner, but it can be a friendship or any kind of relationship that you feel like it's toxic and you just kept hanging on and you're just ready to let go. It's called Call Me a Quitter. My voice is a little hoarse, so we'll see how this goes. Please don't call me, but if you're gonna call me a quitter, 'cause I'm done. Oh, please don't call me, but if you're gonna call me a quitter, 'cause I'm done with this. I'm done with the lies that you told me, the lies that you told, the pride that you stole, the pride that you stole, the time spent. I'm done with it all. I'm done with the dreams that I thought that we shared. I'm done with the times that I thought that you cared. I'm done with the lies that you put in my head. I'm done with the time that I gave up. All these little chips and little bits of myself that I give away, they were never yours. They're mine. So please don't call me. But if you're gonna call me a quitter. 'Cause I'm done. Oh, please don't call me. And if you're gonna call me a quitter. 'Cause I'm done with this. I'm done with the way that you told me to live. I've already run out of fucks to give. I'd rather be lost on my own than stuck in your shadow. And all the little chips and little bits, so they broke off and went your way. And I'll take some of the blame. After all, I stayed. But I don't have the time to hate, 'cause I hope that you get everything that you wanted. I learned my lesson the hard way, and you can bet it won't happen again. So please don't call me. If you're gonna call me a quitter. 'Cause I'm done. Oh, please don't call me. And if you have to call me a quitter. 'Cause I'm done with this. I'm done. He's a demon. He is a demon. Are you done? Alright, so I figured it's about time for an update. I have finished the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Totally forgot I actually do own a copy of this, and I've been using it as a coaster for the last couple days, so it's not looking too great, but yeah, it's a really one of those like buttery ones. It feels nice. This is like the perfect paperback. Floppy, soft. Finished this, and I have started The Cabin at the End of the World. So let's talk about 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. How do I feel? I still don't even know for sure how I feel about this. Honestly, I didn't love it. I hate to say it, but it is what I thought it was gonna be. It's a little bit too long. The payoff isn't worth the length, in my opinion, though I don't think it's a bad book. It's not poorly written, and it's not uninteresting, but it's really hard for me to think of who I would recommend this to. You have to love a mystery, and you have to be very patient, and you would have to enjoy that little fantastical element of this where it's not really fully explained. I mean, it's kind of explained, but it doesn't make sense in our world, so it would have to happen in a different world. I don't want to disregard this book because I didn't dislike it, but I just didn't love it either. I did enjoy the idea that every time Aiden, that's the name of our main character, every time he is thrust into another person's body, their personality is kind of imprinted on his. But it's basically building this parameter around how he can behave within this person's body, and the limitations and the talents that each of these people have, he learns to use them in their own way. So like one of the hosts is really overweight and he just feels so tired. He can't keep up because he's just so tired and he's constantly noticing the weight of the body. Another one of the hosts is mentally really quick. And so he feels that he can very quickly stay on subject. He can use that to his advantage. And then others are more compassionate or have other elements within their personality types that affect the way Aiden works his way through this situation and tries to figure out who killed Evelyn. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Kind of sits right in the middle. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. 3 stars. Okay, so let's move on and talk about The Cabin at the End of the World. From what I've heard about this, it has a really out there ending. So with that in mind, as I'm reading this, I'm like, what could it possibly be that's out there? Because it's basically this crazy cult people keeping this family hostage basically and making them make this choice. So in my head, either the family defeats these crazy cult people or the cult people win and the family has to make this choice. But in either case, that wouldn't be some crazy ending that people would be like, I don't know about that. So it makes me think it has some kind of fantastical element, or the more that I'm reading it, I'm wondering if this isn't going to be I hope it's not going to be a situation where the cult people are right and the end of the world actually does come, and the message of this book is have faith and believe in God, because if that's the case, it's gonna make me feel things that I don't want to feel. I hope that's not the case. I really, really hope that's not the case. What I hope is that when our little 7-year-old badass kind of is super smart and outwits these guys and saves the day and saves both of her dads and the end of the world doesn't happen and everyone's happy. That's what I hope. But that would not be any kind of outrageous ending. But anyway, so far, I do enjoy this. I am enjoying this. I'm scared. They haven't mentioned God at all. But the idea that these people believe that they've been sent these, I want to say hallucinations, but I don't know what they're called from like a religious perspective. Like they've been sent these visions of the world ending, and that's how they've learned what they're supposed to do. That idea in general is terrifying in 2 ways. In the first way, for me personally, that if that actually had happened, like let's say there is a God and that has happened, that's just fucked up and scary. If that hasn't happened, these people are powerful in the sense that they all believe it truly. And I think this is the scary part about cults in general, is that they believe that they're helping. So they're going to go to vast lengths in order to save the world, which is what they think they're trying to do. I've got a lot of conversations going on, and so far I'm enjoying it. So I'll leave it at that, and I will touch base again with you guys when I finish this one. Gotten to this part at The Cabin at the End of the World where Andrew and Eric, our dads, are contemplating whether or not their captors are targeted individuals. And I think it's pretty cool that Paul Tremblay brings this up, whether or not that is actually the case in this book, because the idea of targeted individuals is really interesting to me. If you're not aware, it is a real thing in our culture. I'm not a psychologist or anything, so, don't take this as any kind of treatment or like doctorly information, but from what I've gathered, there are a group of people that consider themselves TIs, targeted individuals. It's like this grandiose delusion. They think that they're constantly being followed. What is it called? Gang stalking. It has to be like 3 or more people that are stalking you. They have to be working for a specific association. They're being targeted by the government, basically. In some cases, they think that their thoughts are being controlled, or the thoughts of other people are being controlled. Maybe they are microchipped in some way. Maybe they are just being followed, and it has to do with this like kind of grandiose delusion that you are the center of the universe and everything is revolving around you. And the thing is with this, the interesting thing with this is that there are kernels of truth in this. That's the thing. We have all this information like Edward Snowden and the things that the government actually does do to spy on us. I don't want to make this into some kind of conspiracy theory mumbo jumbo, but like the government does, they take advantage of some things that they shouldn't because they have the power, because they have the control, yada, yada, yada. But it's exacerbated by the online culture that we live in. Instead of seeking professional help, they go online and they find thousands, if not tens of thousands of other people that feel the same way. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy where they think they're being stalked. They find these other people. The other people say they're being stalked. Those people agree with what they're saying, which reinforces what they initially thought, and then they start to see other things that maybe aren't actually there that reinforce that thought, and it just becomes this circle, this rabbit hole of people that think everyone is watching everything that they're doing, and it's really interesting. These specific people take it to an extreme where they can't leave their own homes, and they're suffering. They're suffering because they believe that they can't go anywhere without being stalked by the government. So it's really dangerous and distressing to these people, and dangerous to other people when they are continuing that idea. So I just think it's really kind of cool that Paul Tremblay brings this up in this book. So I just thought I'd stop and mention that. Who's the sleepiest, sweetest boy? Oh, are you angry? Did I wake you up? He's like, fuck off, Mom. I have finished reading The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, and I have started reading Migrations by Charlotte McConaghy. Okay, so let's talk about this book. I liked it. I have been grappling between giving this 3.5 and 4 stars. I think I am going to give it 4 stars. I did enjoy this book. As we go through, it's really well crafted. I understand, okay, I can't say anything about the ending. I can't, because even if I tell you that it's goes a specific direction, then it's kind of ruins it for you in the reading process. So I get it now. I totally get it. It's not what I expected at all. I like how well crafted this novel is. We get all kinds of different perspectives. There's 7 characters in this book. We have the 2 dads, Eric and Andrew, the daughter Wen, and then we have the 4 intruders. And that's the entire cast. I think we get a perspective from each of them at some point. There may be a couple that we don't get a perspective from. Sometimes it'll be 2 people's perspective, and it'll be like first person plural perspective, especially towards the end when shit is hitting the fan and shit's getting crazy, and it just changes perspective on you and gives it that kind of sense of strangeness that adds to the suspense. There are definitely some triggers in here. If you need trigger warnings, look it up. I always link Storygraph down below with the books that I'm reading, so you can go and look up trigger warnings. So that is available for you if you want to. The very end of this book, there is this little extra bit where you can learn about the author and learn about the book, and he talks about where he got the initial idea to write this book, and he kind of explains why he chose the ending to be what it is. And so I can see that some people would not enjoy this. It doesn't bother me. I can see why some people would be angry at this book. I don't know how else to explain it. There's nothing, I don't know how to say it without saying it. This is so hard. I like it, and now I'm feeling a little bit like I should have read this last because I've started Migrations. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not that far into it though. Actually, I'm listening to the audiobook, so I don't even know why I'm looking at the pages like I have a bookmark in there, because I don't. Yeah, I'm on chapter 3, so yeah, I'm like 15%, if that, into this book. Basically, we're following Franny, and she's trying to get onto this boat with these fishermen so that they can take her to like Antarctica or just like all around to follow this final migration of this bird. Seems like she's got problems with her husband back home. At first, I was really annoyed by the voice of the audiobook narrator, but then I realized she's Irish and Australian, and so the accent made sense. At first, I just thought it was an American person trying to sound posh, and that's what bothered me about it. But when I realized she had that Irish accent bit, I'm very impressed actually by the accent of the narrator. I guess there's a lot of rioting and picketing for the fishermen in general because they are dwindling down the fish, and that is what's affecting the environment, changing the entire ecosystem. And so these fishermen, they're like a dying breed, basically. It's harder and harder to find the fish. And so Franny tells them, like, look, if we follow these birds, they follow the fish. Like, if you take me with you, we will find the fish. You guys are desperate. I'm desperate. Let's help each other out. And there's a reveal just in those first 3 chapters. I wonder if I should tell you guys. I'm going to pop up something right here. Once this is gone, I'm going to say it real quick because if you don't want to know, then fast forward until this is gone. But I want to say it because it's what's intriguing me about this so far. Within the first 2 chapters, even I think it might have been, Franny reveals that she is not planning on living past this experience. She's not going back home. This is her final migration as well. I just put that together. Final migrations. Wow. Ooh, is this going to be really sad? So I don't know what happened to make her want to end her life, but she has a husband back home. It's not like she's alone, or at least as far as I know, she still has a husband back home. So yeah, I'll take this down now. Okay. You're back. The rest of it, I'm kind of like, you know, it's not really my thing, but I'm wondering now if this is going to be heavier than I thought it would be. Maybe I should expect that it is because it's about climate change, which is a very heavy topic in general. Oh, what have I gotten myself into? So anyway, I'll check back in when probably at like 50% for this or when I just have something to say.
3, 2, 1, 0.
I just finished this book. It's really good. I've been crying for the last 50 pages, if you can't tell. Damn you, Ashley. Damn you. I've literally been like ugly crying for the last half an hour. I'm exhausted. I fucking love this book so much. Oh my god. It was beautiful. Beautiful. I will talk about it tomorrow because of this. Hey, I am human again and here to talk about migrations. Holy fuck. I've been sitting here for like 5 minutes without the camera recording, just trying to figure out how I'm going to explain this book to you because there are no words. There are no words to express the beauty and the devastation that is this book. And I just got done filming my anti-TBR, not just, but last week, talking about how I don't want to read books that make me sad. That being said, I was not looking for this book, but this book was looking for me, and it found me, and it's so precious. This is going to be in my top books of the year, like it just is. Where to even start? I was a little bit confused the whole time about the whole climate change thing because they were talking about the protests of the fishermen and that kind of thing, and I was like, whoa, I didn't know that was happening, and I'm so naive. I felt like this was our time and place, but I just didn't know all of these things that were happening. And then as I continued reading, I realized it's kind of like a 5 minutes in the future type of thing because it's a situation we're dealing with, but in this timeline or this story, 80% of the wild animals have gone extinct. And that is what's causing all of this uproar and upheaval. It really does, in that aspect, make you think about what life could be like 10, 20 years down the road. This could become true, and that aspect of it is just terrifying. So the characters in this book, I don't know if you can even see it, like it kind of blends in with my background right here. You know what, I'll just pop it up. So the characters are the best part about this book. Our main character, Franny, one of my all-time favorite characters in a book ever. She very much gives me Elizabeth Bennet. She's obstinate, she's wild, she's free, she's stubborn. Hello, Denver. And there seems to be some kind of unspecified mental illness that runs through her family and the women in her family in particular, and they call themselves wanderers. They just cannot stay put in one place. They have this urge to be free, to be out, to be traveling, to go to one place to the next. And I think it's tied to whatever this mental illness is. The book does such a great job of making her so human within that aspect of her that it makes it beautiful. Like, I can't explain to you the artistry of this book. It makes her life, like, you talk about romanticizing your life. Like, this is the most romantic life ever. This, in its essence, is a love story. And it's not necessarily like your typical love story where it's just like man meets woman, they fall in love. It's a love story about life, about brokenness, about being imperfect, about having passion, and like, there's so much to say about it. You guys, read this book, please, so I can talk to more people about it, because there's so much. This would be perfect for a book club too, because there's so many levels. The depth is extraordinary. Okay, so we meet Franny when she's trying to find this captain or crew to let her aboard their ship to go follow the migration of these terns, these Arctic terns. When she first meets this crew, we have the captain of the ship is Ennis, Captain Ennis. They don't like each other at first. She gets along with pretty much everyone on the ship, but she and Ennis butt heads. And the reason for that is because they are so similar. And I got to thinking about this idea that I've kind of made one of my mantras in life, that the things you don't like about somebody is a reflection of your own self. It's a mirror of your own dislikes about yourself. And I find that to be true all the time. I feel like if you just keep that in the forefront of your mind, you grow to have a lot more compassion for people in general. And I think that's what happens with Franny and Ennis, is that they are so similar. They're both so stubborn and reckless and destructive, self-destructive in a way. They butt heads at first, but then Ennis ends up becoming like a father figure to Franny in the end. But anyway, so we're getting these scenes of her on the ship trying to find the migration. Also, we're getting flashback scenes of her when she met her husband, Niall, who is a researcher, a scientist, a professor, a very scholarly type man, and they met because of their love of birds. Of course, Niall, the entire time I was reading it, I kept thinking of Niles Crane, and so in my head, he is Niles Crane from Frasier. That's just how I pictured him the entire time. Their love and their bond is so imperfect as well, because she loves him because he brings a sense of stability. They together are my favorite trope. They are Elizabeth and Darcy. She is wild, she is free, he is static and stoic and centered, and together they complete each other. But he's too good for her in a sense, because he loves her for exactly who she is, and he just is so patient and kind. But at the same time, she brings something to him that he can never experience without her. She is art, she is beauty, she is wildness, ferocity. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. We're following their relationship at the same time that we're following her on this quest to follow the migration. We also find out that something happened in her past that landed her in a lot of trouble, and that caused this big friction between her and Niall. And that is a huge part of what moves the plot forward. But the writing, oh my God, the writing! The way it's set up with these flashbacks and present timeline, and the information that gets revealed along the way is done so exquisitely, so perfectly. You get these twists that you weren't expecting, you weren't thinking outside of the realm of what you were into, and then all of a sudden your mind gets blown, and it just is so good. The only other thing I'm going to say about it is that I mentioned that it's a love story, but it's a love story about her and her husband. It's a love story about her and her being as a person, her mental health, her character, loving herself, but also it's a love story with the sea and this whole idea of freedom and being at sea. It really is like this romance, this love affair between her and the water and the ocean as well, and the birds too. So yeah, I'm gonna stop. stop right there because I'm getting I'm just going on and on and on, and I can't do that. So we need to wrap up these books. If I haven't said it, this is 5 stars. First, we read 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I liked it. It kind of has this Downton Abbey type feel to it. Felt very English. I liked the idea of this more than I liked actually reading it. I guess that makes sense. The fantasy element probably was the most fun for me, although I felt like how it played out, it was a little bit dragged out. It was a little bit tedious at times. I do still recommend it. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. Is that what I said? No, 3 stars. I'm giving this 3 stars, but I am still going to recommend it because I think for a specific person, this is going to be an amazing book. Next, we read The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, and this one was good in a completely different way. All 3 of these books were so different from each other. This one, I really thought it was engaging. I thought it was very suspenseful. You have the isolated setting, you have these intruders. I had fun kind of going through the motions with this one and kind of having my own theories and trying to take hints away from like, why are these people here and is it real or is it not? Is the world ending or is it not? I think that is the main question of this book that as you're reading it that keeps you going. And so it does have that faster pace of a thriller. The ending, not gonna go into, I want you to find that out for yourself. But once you have, and if you've read this and you know the ending, then I wanna talk to you about it. So put a little spoiler in the comments and then space down a little bit and tell me what you think about the ending because I'm curious now that I know what it is, what other people think of this. And I gave this 4 stars. So another good one. Lastly, Migrations. We've just gone through this. You know the scope of my emotions towards this book. You saw the eyes, you saw the drama. I just can't, you guys saw that, if you're still watching, then you saw I had no interest in this. Nothing about this said, read me. It said boring, birds, climate change. You know, it said all of that to me until I opened it. God, this is why I love books! Because it's just a stupid book. It's just a dead tree with ink on it until you read it, and then you read it and it becomes so much more. So much more. God, if you want to feel in tune with humanity, if you want to feel in tune with art and beauty and love, and you want to experience traveling the world and adventure and everything that life is about, it is in this book. So please read it. 5 stars. 5 stars. So I guess we have a 3-star, a 4-star, and a 5-star. So you know what? I'm gonna say this was successful. And this just really makes me trust Ashley's recommendations even more at this point. So I guess moving on forward in the future, if she suggests a book that I don't necessarily feel like I'm gonna be interested in, I'm going to read it. I've learned so much about myself from this reading experience. I have learned that I can't necessarily trust my own instincts when it comes to these books before I've read them. And that's the thing, like once you get into the book, once you've read the book, you have so much of a broader idea of what it's about. Before you go into it, it's just a book. Like it's just another book and you hear little tidbits and you hear reviews and you hear things that may or may not be positive, and then you make your judgment based on that. But not until you actually sit down and listen or read and experience that book can you actually know how it's gonna make you feel. That's why it's an art. That's why it's an art. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this vlog because I've just been sitting here for probably like 20 minutes. I'm gonna have to edit a lot of this. If you're still with me, as always, thank you so much. I love you guys. I love ya. So happy to be doing vlogs again. I feel like it's been a minute since I've done a vlog. Tell me if you've read these books. Tell me how you felt about them. If you have read them, I wanna know, especially this one. Don't forget that life is short, so read Riley. Cheers. I don't have a drink, shit. Cheers and goodbye. Denver, are you alive? Sleepy boy. Weirdo. Okay, good night.